Hello, ghouls, and welcome to Brave the Basement. I'm your host, the Ghoul the Rules.
I'm your co-host, Black One Jack 2.
If you enjoy getting a little scared, ghost stories, haunted houses, a believer in the supernatural, or maybe even a skeptic looking at things from a different perspective, then this is the show for you. Today's episode is sponsored by Ed's Barbershop. Ed's Barbershop is located at 210 Lane Street, North Judson, Indiana. So if you enjoy getting your hair cut from a hometown barber with that old-fashioned feel, dial 574-896-3344 and schedule your appointment today. Hey, Blackjack, how's it going?
I am doing fantastic. I'm ready to record, and what we have today?
So today, I got some Ghoul Mail and a personal account of a ghost hunt that I went on in high school.
Back in the old days.
Back in the old days. So we're going to go back to some of my old ghost hunts. So I'm looking forward to that. We're going to do something a little bit different. Instead of me telling the story, I kind of ran it through some programs on the computer I've been just kind of messing around with. And so we're going to hear these stories told, like I said, through the computer, both the Ghoul Mail and my personal account. Are you ready for all this, Blackjack?
This is going to be new, but let's try it.
So before I get into that, I was kind of worried about Blackjack coming into this episode. I didn't think he was going to be able to make it down the basement stairs because good old Blackjack got hurt, didn't you, Blackjack?
Yeah, I pulled a muscle in my leg playing some basketball.
Playing some b-ball out there on the streets, acting all cool, right?
Yeah. Darn bad pass. One bad pass, and you try to go get it, and you hurt yourself.
So, like I said, I was really, because, you know, the Brave the Basement studio is in the basement, and, you know, these stairs are kind of hard, so I was like, you sure you're going to be able to make it down the stairs, Blackjack?
You might have the fireman carry me down here.
Well, whatever it needs to be done to get this episode on.
Yes.
So, we're hoping that you get healed up quickly and get back to some balling. But before we do anything else, let's just go ahead and jump straight into our Ghoul Mail. Ghoul Mail from the Gmail.
I met a doppelganger up close and personal. One day I was doing some clothes shopping and I got a call from my college friend, Jeffrey J. Moore, to come over and hang out. I told Jeff that I would come over after I left the mall. I was using public transportation. After I get to Jeff's house, Jeff introduced me to his friend Sleepy. Sleepy appeared to be very sleepy and lethargic in the face. Sleepy and Jeff were in Jeff's room chatting about school. In Jeff's room we hung out and talked for a while, but I had to go, so I decided to leave after about an hour. I shook Jeff and Sleepy's hands before exiting. As I exit Jeff's room, and into the hallway, through the dining room and living room, out of the front second floor door, and down 2 flights of stairs, I'm at the front door. As I slowly open the house's front door, I notice that some is blatantly blocking my exit. I look into the eyes of the person who could be so rudely and purposefully blocking my exit, and it's Sleepy. Now I just left Sleepy upstairs seconds ago, so it would have been impossible for him to be at the front door trying to get in. Though I was in terror because I've lived a long life of ghosts, haunted houses, and bad luck, my first complete thought was, this is Sleepy's twin brother coming to visit from home. Because I assumed with all my heart that this was Sleepy's brother, I extended my hand and welcomed him in. I shook his hand and it shook mine perfectly. He closed the door behind us. He followed me up the stairs, into the second-story apartment, through the living and dining room, and into Jeff's bedrooms where Jeff and his friend Sleepy was. Upon entering the room, I was so scared that I was trembling. I quickly sat down on the corner of the bed and gave J-Mo a cigarette under the doppelganger's nose. I kind of handed Jeff the cigarette at the same time that the doppelganger entered the room, and the look on Jeff's face was terrifying. He was in disbelief. I looked to give Sleepy a cigarette to read him as well, but he didn't want one. I then turned to Sleepy as he also sat and said, "Sleepy, Do you have a twin brother? Sleepy shakes his head no and replies nah. As Sleepy stared the doppelganger in the face, he seemed to almost cower, but he kept eye contact. The doppelganger was breathing furiously and was super strong. As it stared back at Sleepy intently, I watched them through the mirror because I didn't want to catch any eye contact from the doppelganger. I remembered to take note that the doppelganger had no reflection. After what seemed like an eternity, I slowly stood up and calmly walked out of the room behind the doppelganger and left the house. I have no clue how it all played out in the end. All three of our families experienced multiple deaths. Each time I saw Sleepy or Jeff in public, it slipped my mind to ask them how they got the doppelganger out of the house.
Well, what do you think of that one, Blackjack?
Don't let strangers in the house.
But
Even if they look the same, don't let strangers in the house.
So I'm gonna call upon your doppelganger expertise, Blackjack, because you are probably the biggest fan of the Flash I've ever seen. So, was this a doppelganger? What was going on?
I am not sure. Usually doppelgangers are from another Earths, according to the multiple Earth theory, blah, 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 all that stuff. And usually it's kind of weird when they see each other. I mean, it's not like time travel where it breaks time, you know? It's just, hey, that person just walks and talks and acts like me, but is just a little bit different from me.
So in the account of the story here, he thought that it was his friend Sleepy's twin brother, and he's like, "Yeah, come on in." And he asked Sleepy, "Hey, you got a twin brother?" And he's like, "No." So where'd this guy come from?
Just like the multiverse theory with the many Earths, there could be dimensions. And that can go back into the topic of that we had with all the dimension stuff we had.
So could you imagine how freaky this whole situation would have been?
It's just unreal. I mean, I want to wake up and just see this dude there who looks like me, acts like me.
It would be freaky. Did I ever tell you the story, Blackjack, what happened to me? I met this guy. It's funny because I was playing basketball.
Oh.
And I was with a friend of mine, and we met this guy, and we played basketball for a little bit, and he kind of went his way, and I kind of went my way. And a few hours later, I take a walk uptown, and I run into him on the sidewalk, and his arm was in a cast. And I'm like, "Dude, what happened, man? Like, we were just playing basketball just a couple hours ago." And he's like, "No, that wasn't me, dude. That was my brother." And I'm like, "No, you're joking with me, right?" And he's like, "No, for real, that was my twin brother."
That's freaky, man.
So it turned out, and here's the thing, because these guys still live locally today. They are twin brothers.
No doppelgangers.
No, not doppelgangers, twins.
Twins.
So one of them had a broke arm, and I happened to meet the one brother. And then the same day, by chance, I met the other brother, and he's in a cast.
You think they ever switched them up on their teachers? I don't feel like going on this class today. Can you take my math class?
I mean, they're identical. It is super weird. And like I said, and I walked up to him, started talking to him because I thought I knew him. And I'm like, well, I even asked him. I said, "You was probably kind of freaked out when I just started talking." He's like, "Dude, it happens all the time." He said to both of us. So if one of us meets somebody and then the other one runs into that person, they come up to us like we were the ones that was hanging out with them or whatever. So it was just kind of funny. Really enjoyed this Ghoul Mail. And like I said, I know it's a little different with the computer. I'm playing around, just seeing if I like it or not. What'd you think of it, Blackjack?
Definitely interesting. It was cool. I like it.
I like it too. So we'll see. We play more later. Well, actually, we're going to do another one right here in 2 minutes. So
yeah,
today's episode, like I said, was about a personal experience that happened to me ghost hunting back when I was in high school, and so I'm going to go ahead and let the story speak for itself, and then after the story, we'll talk about it in some greater detail. How's that sound, Blackjack?
Sounds fine to me.
Ghost hunting was always fun for me, and at one point I did it as much as possible. Although I just recently went on a ghost hunt, it was the first ghost hunt I did in years. Now I spend most of my paranormal time podcasting about some of those experiences among other paranormal things. This ghost hunt happened when I was in high school. My friend claimed for a while that his house was haunted. Knowing I liked to ghost hunt, he tried to get me to check it out for the longest time. I don't know why I was hesitant to investigate. I guess part of me figured he was just trying to pull my leg. After begging me to check it out, I finally agreed. I asked him what typically happens inside the house. He went on to explain that sometimes he will see someone walk down the hallway, and in some cases they would come into his room in the middle of the night. He also said that he would hear things banging around in the kitchen. I immediately thought the guy was seeing someone that lived there walking around, and maybe he had a mouse in the kitchen. I went there and made room to sleep on his floor. We stayed up past midnight and finally decided to go to sleep. I was asleep for a few hours when my buddy shook my shoulder. He whispered, "I think I just seen a dude in the hallway." I crawled from my makeshift bed to the hallway. Looking down the hall to the left and right was nothing but darkness. I whispered back to him, "I don't see anything." I crawled back to where I was sleeping, and as soon as I made it I heard what sounded like pots and pans banging in the kitchen. It sounded too big to be a simple mouse. Now I'm afraid we are dealing with something bigger, possibly a possum. The banging on lasted a few seconds. Then, as clear as day, I could hear footsteps coming down the hall. I quickly crawled back to the hallway to look. I could still hear the footsteps, but I didn't see anyone. Convinced this is now something paranormal, I jumped up and turned on the light. That's when I noticed a shadow dart from the hallway to the kitchen. We walked to the kitchen and I couldn't see or hear anything abnormal. We looked through some of the cabinets. Suddenly we heard a loud bang in his room. We ran as fast as we could to his bedroom, and laying in the middle of the floor right where I was sleeping was his dresser. It fell over. We spent the rest of the night on the floor in his living room. His family ended up moving out of the house a few years later. We were never able to determine what exactly happened inside that house.
So what'd you think of that story, Blackjack?
It's kind of creepy. I mean, 12. It was like what, 12 p.m. a.m.
Well, it was a little after midnight.
A little bit
and
after midnight.
when we went to sleep.
They always come when you're sleeping, dude.
Sure.
Dude, you're never like, I'm just chilling here, and they just walk. No, you're like, what was that?
So we talked before about the witching hour when a lot of these things happen. And so the funny thing about this particular incident was I was 100% convinced this dude had mice, rats, possums. I was just convinced. I'm like, look, man, someone in your house is walking down the hallway. You're half asleep. You're hearing some critters banging around.
You need an exterminator.
You don't need paranormal investigation. You need an exterminator. And I tell you this, Blackjack, my mind changed pretty quick when all this went down, especially when I seen that shadow kind of dart down the hallway and into the kitchen.
I don't know, that dresser got me pretty good too.
So, after doing almost 3 seasons, Blackjack, I'm going to see what you have learned about ghosts and paranormal things. What would you say we were dealing with inside this home?
Ghost.
You're voting ghost.
Many ghosts.
Many ghosts.
Maybe a shadow person.
Wait. Mini ghost or mini ghosts?
not little ghost. Just plural.
Plural ghosts.
Plural ghosts. This is.
Ghost.
And maybe a shadow person.
Maybe a shadow person. So after thinking on this whole thing, I believe we were dealing with a poltergeist.
I had that in my mind too, but
You conveniently had that in your mind, right?
I'm telling you, I had it in my mind, but it's like, don't poltergeists follow you around?
So, well, not always. I mean, it all depends. So the poltergeist is negative energy. It could be brought on by the family that lives there or a family that lived there before. It's not a spirit or a ghost. They're very strange entities. But that's what I believe it was. Shadow person, that's a possibility as well. I never thought. Well, I mean, it did fit the description of darting down the hallway, right?
I mean, if poltergeists are a bunch of negative energy, don't you think it could invite more things into it? Like ghosts and shadow people?
Good question. I don't know. That's a really good
It's just
question.
like a big party for evil things.
You just got a big evil party, huh?
Yeah.
With many tiny ghosts.
Many tiny ghosts.
And then plural ghostesses.
You know what I want to watch really bad right now?
What's that,
The
Blackjack?
new Ghostbusters movie, all right? And I seen the little the commercial of those mini marshmallow dudes. Have you seen that?
I have not seen the commercial.
Oh, no.
When you said you know what movie I want to see, I thought you was going to say the Clifford the Big Red Dog movie that's coming out.
I mean, I would watch that too.
Yeah, I want to watch it too. It's
I mean, yeah. But I would have to show you after we're done recording. There's this part where you know how in the movie there was that big giant when I can't remember the actor's name, but the guy who was one of the Ghostbusters, and they were all saying, "Hey, you better not think of anything. You got to keep your mind clear, or the next monster will come." And the guy started thinking about the Marshmallow Man, that big Marshmallow Man, who was it, New York City?
yeah.
And and the funny thing is that the new movie, they had the little marshmallow guys, and they were all cute and stuff. It was awesome.
Yeah, you're going to show that to me, Blackjack. I'm looking forward to that movie too. Like I said, I haven't really seen any trailers or anything for it just yet, but definitely excited. So I think we can agree. I may or may not be wrong about my poltergeist theory on that. I did not think shadow people, Blackjack. So
Thank you.
kudos
Thank
to you.
Thank you. I'm bowing.
He is bowing. If you would like to become a Brave the Basement Ghoul, be sure to share this show on social media. Go to bravethebasement.weebly.com and sign up for our newsletter to get all the latest news and updates when each episode has been posted. If you have a ghost story you would like to share, you could reach us at bravethebasement@gmail.com. Your story can make it on the show and be featured on the website. You can also submit your story on Reddit under the subreddit Brave the Basement or in the YouTube comment section. If you have an eerie ghost photo you would like to share, please email us and include a description, and your photo could be added to our photo gallery. And that brings us to the end. We hope that we brought you just a little fright. And remember when you were up late at night and you hear something in the other room that just doesn't seem right. It's okay if you need to turn on the light to protect yourself from things that go bump in the night. I'm your host, the Ghoul that Rules.
I'm your co-host, Black One Jack 2.
And I hope you join us again. Until next time.